Welcome to Beastie Besties with Jay and Lo, the podcast where we share publishing updates, laughs, and all the new news in our world. Today, we have two amazing authors joining us for our Friends Are Here segment. They are both tenacious in their book promotion, like seriously hardcore pushing their books, and they both won awards, and they are going to share some tips with you and more about how their publishing journeys were. So stay with us till that point, and we will kick off with
What we're grateful for. I really like that you've instituted this practice. I'm sure I've mentioned that before, but it's so easy to get stuck in your little like poopy pants hole or anything like that. And so when you just take a second and you stop and look and go, there's some pretty cool stuff going on. Do you have anything that you're grateful for these days, my friend?
Of course, this practice is very important to me because it is very easy to get caught in a grumpy pants mode all the time. And really, I personally don't believe that there are a whole lot of things in life that need to be taken real seriously. There are a few things, very few things that should be family, life, health, that kind of stuff. But everything that we encounter as far as business and most other things, tech working, not working, a lot of it is just like, is this really this serious? So to be grateful for the things that you have in front of you, plus I'm always comparing to history, just the amount of stuff that we have, and compared to, we talked to our guests about their books and history, and just compared to what people had even at 50 to 100 years ago, we are so lucky for things that we have. So I am super grateful today, though, specifically because, they can change depending on what's happening. But I'm very grateful for Upwork. Maybe some people don't even know what that is, but it is a platform where you can hire people to do work for you. And I'm not grateful for it for that reason. I am grateful for the people, the women especially, that I've met through that, who I've worked with, and getting to work with some people from around the world and just really have some really interesting interactions with people around the world through the work that I do. So I love that. And then, of course, I am grateful for New York City Transit. It gets a bad rap, but the ability to sit on a train for an hour to go somewhere without having to pay attention to traffic, coming from Tampa where the traffic is so awful, and knowing how degrading it is to your mental, and being able to sit on a train and listen to music or answer some emails or do something is, to me, night and day difference. Like, I don't get where I'm going. And of course, depending on what your outlook is and how you travel by train, you might be annoyed by other people, or you occasionally see some weird things. But I really appreciate the transit system here, and compared to some other places, I think it works great. So I'm really appreciative of that. And then my last one is little white dogs.
I need to know more about this because you're like a staunch cat person. So I'm
Yes.
very curious.
Well, I'm still, if I have to choose which is going to reside in my home, I'm going to choose a cat.
Yeah.
But just going for walks and stuff, every time I see a little white dog, they have to be the most grateful little scrappers in the
They're so
world.
precious.
They're always just like prancing, and they always just look like they're in love with their owners. They're just like, they look like they live in La La Land. And I don't care what breed it is, just little white dogs are the happiest little things I've ever seen. And every time I see one now, they just kind of like bounce that back onto me.
Yeah, well, you should come over for a little while because I have a gigantic brown and black dog that also does the same thing. And she's really been ramping it up lately too because I think she knows I'm going on vacation. So, yeah, animals are the best. I mean, and I just learned the other day that there's a 6-foot giant river otter. Did you know that there were river otters that large?
No.
Okay, we'll have to talk more about that later, but
Right?
they're terrifying. They're not cute like the other ones.
Interesting. No, I've never heard of that. What are you
Yeah.
grateful for?
Well, I mean, speaking of dogs, I love my roommate, Dottie. She's awesome. I mean, we're having so much fun together, and I was having a conversation with one of my other besties the other day, and we were talking about roommates and how we've had some terrible ones. And, we were talking about who was like our best roommate ever. And I was like, I think Dottie's my favorite, because she gets me up, she gets me moving. Then we kind of do our own thing a little bit of the time. But if I had to pick a human, Chris Hartrip. I mean, living with him was such
Oh,
a
yeah.
dream. And like when you look back and you think, oh, I come home from college and I have the guy who's now like one of the top chefs in the Tampa area making me meals, trying out food recipes. That was awesome. So I was just kind of looking like happily back at some of the people I've lived, not so happily back at some of them, but just kind of reminiscing a little bit. I'm going to my birthday's coming up in a few days here, by the time this airs, it'll have been past and I'll be back. But I'm going to Paris and Bruges, so I'm really excited about that. Those are two cities I didn't really have on my list until later in life. And once again, I've got to talk about video games because I'm playing the sequel to that game I was talking about with the really interesting AI story in it and how AI, they build the Gaia thing to kind of save the world.
Right.
And it's like I attack the storytelling in these games is so fantastic now that it's like when you're reading a book you love and you're just like, okay, when I get to this campfire, I'm gonna pause and save the game and turn it off. But you're just like, no, I just got to read one more chapter. I just got to read one more
Right.
chapter. Nighting here stayed up until like 12:30 the other night gaming, which 9:30 is my pretty hard past bedtime. So I was just looking at it and thinking about it, and it's like it's these stories that keep us locked in, right? You think about like binging a show on Netflix or just like tearing through a book. I remember I called in sick to work one day to read Ready Player One, or like these games because it's the stories, and that's it's not just mindless running around and grinding on whatever. It's like they build this whole world in it, and it's just captivating. So
Yeah.
I'm been having a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I just I like the storytelling element. I don't have the patience. I don't or attention span. The game for me is business. The game, like the game I play day after day. So I've been up till midnight or later, sometimes
Yeah.
later, just coding again. And it is
Yeah.
that's my happy spot.
I mean, I wish I knew how to do it. It's such a different language to me, and you talk about these things that you're doing, and I'm just like, I don't know what that means, but you're super passionate about it, and it sounds awesome. And then when you show me these things you've created, I'm like, this is so cool, and I can't even begin to wrap my head around how you did it. I
Yeah,
mean, and
it's
it's
awesome.
like, it is awesome. It is awesome.
And that's, I can imagine being like a video game coder creator. That'd be amazing.
All the listeners out there, that would like, if I could go back in time, I'd want to write these stories, right? And you think about movies like Grandma's Boy, where they were testers. I'm like, if anybody needs a tester in the 49-year-old woman market, holla at your girl. Like, yeah, it's just all those little behind the scenes things. And it's like, even just getting a glimpse into your world with this coding is fascinating because we like to know how the sausage is made. Sometimes, not the literal sausage. I don't want to.
All right, so intentions. I think we have this intentions thing going where we make sure that we are checking in on each other. Are we working on the habits that we would like to work on? And we're probably due for a new set, I think. But does anything
Ah.
come into mind as an intention we should focus on for this week?
It was, excuse me. It was really funny because I think we kind of unintentionally like tripped back into this with some of the stuff we've been doing lately because there's just been a different fire lit in both of us lately. And, I can say personally for me, like coming off the tail end of a lot of, we'll say, big life events and some serious health issues that I haven't really felt on track and probably should have been checking in on the intentions a lot more than I had. But I kind of stumbled my way through a lot of it. And then the other day I was like, Laura's doing a lot of stuff. I'm doing a lot of stuff. We're really making a lot of projects and progress. I said, when I get back from this trip, let's be accountability buddies and really kind of check in on these things that we're jazzed on and just make sure we keep moving. It's just fun saying like, hey, cool, what'd you get done today? Oh, where are you at? Oh yeah, cool, cool, cool. We got that done. It feels so good. So
Yes.
it's nice to feel this again.
Yeah, and that's the thing about so the intentions. Like I would love for more best friends to work off intentions together.
Yeah.
Just period. And if you're just listening or whatever, it's basically a list of habits you want to work on and you've talked through them together. Like what are you they don't necessarily have to be things you're both struggling with, but like if it's money stress or if it's complaining too much or if it is, dwelling on something in the past, like whatever it is that you're like, I need to get in the habit of getting rid of this. So it basically gives the other person permission to call you out. So you're like, hey, are we working on that intention? And without that, you're just telling somebody what to do, or you may hurt their feelings with like, how dare you, even though they might know deep down that they should be working on it. But it gives each other permission to just stop each other to take a evaluation of how you're doing things. I mean, the big ones for us
Yeah.
are the 4 agreements, not taking things personally and not making assumptions. And then so even when you're talking or when I'm talking, you can say, hey, I think the reason you're having that problem is you've been making assumptions. And then we tie it back to the intentions. So, and with that, though, there are times when one of us maybe doesn't feel like doing them. And you have to be like, can we do that again? Can we do it again? Let's pull it back. Let's do it again.
I mean, and you and I have such an intimate relationship after 30, however many years of friendship that we've had here that like we can be more like sisters a lot of times, you know, and it's like there'll be things that we notice in each other that we point out, and it, you know, it keeps you honest, it keeps you on track. And, you know, and speaking with one of my other lifelong friends that I love dearly, and it's like, you know, she's going through it right now. And I'm just a little bit on the other side of where she was, you know, with things like this. And she's like, "You're so wise." I'm like, "Oh, I am not wise.
Nope.
I have, you know, true knowledge is like all we are is dust in the wind, dude." But like,
It's like the video games. You're just another level up, but
I'm
the levels
just,
never stop.
yep.
Like,
Yeah, I'm just
and that's
taking a
where I
different
was,
kind of
I think,
lessons.
with you over the last, I'm like, can we go back? I would love to do intentions, but like, I'm waiting for you to get to the point where you can do it again. So I'm super excited to, after your trip, to like get back on these things. But,
Yeah.
and you know, there are times and seasons for everything.
Oh my God.
So anyway, let's get to our news so that we can get to our, so when our friends are here, we're ready for them.
Speaking of news, okay, real quick sidebar, side quest, whatever you want to call it. I had some little children over the other day to play old school video, well, old school, like PlayStation 4 VR
Yeah,
set and
you
like
have
the
that
old
Dennis
Wii
the Menace
balance
thing going
board.
on at your house.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I shot the paint on the chicken. But they were over and, you know, they wanted to go on and play PlayStation 5. I'm like, "You guys are playing this old stuff," which, you know, shot myself in the foot on that trying to get it working. I've been talking about this game. I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's really fun. You sit on the balance board and you drive this yak down a mountain and ha 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 ha." It comes up today. What's it called? Beestie boarding. So it is not a yak. It is a wildebeest that you are riding upside down, and it is unhinged. And I laughed so hard. I was just like, "Yeah, beastie boarding, like who'd have thunk it?" Like, but yeah. Anyway, so back to other news, GNUS's.
Yes, news. Give us the news.
So we have lots of big things going on. As you may have heard, we have pivoted the weekend retreat to a workshop now. So as I believe it's filling up pretty quickly, right? And it's going to be at the CNY Art Center. You know a little bit more about that area than I do, so if you wouldn't mind speaking to the center, that would be great.
Yeah, no, the workshop is registration's open. It's on the website. There's vendor opportunities, and like Roxanne will describe when she gets here, there will be a contest for vendors. So we want to help authors to improve their branding and their appearance, and also give people an incentive to come by the tables and say hello. And it will be at the CNY Art Center in Fulton, New York, which is about 35-40 minutes north of Syracuse, but it is a gorgeous drive, and it is a beautiful little town. And there we have the ability to do this outside, so hopefully it won't be too hot or raining, but we're going to cross our fingers for a beautiful day. There's going to be room for 40 vendors, and it's early on, so we're inviting all of our partners. But we have Georgia Popoff, who is the amazingly accomplished writer and a member of the American Pen Women Society Association. I am not sure which it is. And she is also long-standing. I think she's retired, but she was with the Central New York Writers Committee, which is part of the YMCA. And so she's going to be talking about getting through your imposter syndrome. You know, once you're an author, it's not like you just start selling your books. That every author faces this, like, who am I to push this? Who am I to sell this? You have to become a business owner, entrepreneur, and that's a very big mindset shift. So she's talking about that. Dr. Luisa Caprono is joining us from Texas, and she's the author of Push Then Breathe. And she'll be teaching more of the marketing and branding, and she's just incredible. She's set up book tours across the country. She's constantly marketing and promoting and doing talks, and so she's going to teach more of that business side. Then Aldea Gerard is an amazing artist and creative director with Hey Alec Productions, our sister social
My
media
girl.
company. And yes, the other unicorn in my life. And so she's going to take everything further and actually teach you hands-on how to make posts, how to do social media, how to set up your content calendars. So this is extremely valuable. And then finally, our guest who's going to be arriving here soon, Roxanne Bocyck, is the author of Catherine's Dream. And she is like, her table setup is just incredible. And she's going to be helping us run that contest and presenting more on how to actually get that set up and going for you so that it's effective. And yeah.
I mean, Roxanne is just so much fun to be around. She's got stories for days.
Yeah.
I mean, like all of these people that are going to be there are fantastic. I think it was Dr. K is one of the many people that have said to us, like, you know, you wouldn't think writing the book was the easy part, but it's all the marketing and advertising and thing after that, where it's like, you know, like Kaitlyn speaks about, where it's like, social media, like I didn't know it would be such a great tool. And it's just finding the tools that work for you.
Yeah. And to that point, you can sign up as a vendor. There's a Saturday workshop, which has the 4 presenters. And then there's a Sunday bonus, which still wrapping up the details. But by the time this comes out, it should be finalized. But we'll be at this great little hotel in Auburn with hands-on help. So it's an additional, like whatever it is that you need help with, website, your social media, spreadsheets, like setting yourself up for success, like or just learning the tech. Some of our authors just don't even know how to send an email. So we can help you how to do all of that and how to build your own website, whatever you want. Like I've got many years of entrepreneur and design and business experience. And then some of the others like Aldea has the social media and graphics and design, and our other tech helpers will be there for whatever it is that you need. So that will be super valuable. So you can either book them together or just the Saturday. And we're also working with CNY Art Center to sponsor their new book club. The first one was May 21st, and that was with Gomez Adams and Kim Adams, because they're running concurrent not adult themed, but for adults book club, and then also children's at the same time so that they can show up together. So, a lot of times you gotta leave the family at home. And I think for some book clubs you want to leave the family at home, especially the wine and sip ones.
Yeah, but I think it's so great that they're doing this together because they're just charming and so funny and so fun. And I don't know, I look at it from the outside like that's got to be a really cool experience. They're both newly published authors and they're getting to kind of like run their book tour, but obviously do it very different directions based on their audience.
Yeah, so their next one is going to be June 21st. So if you're listening now and you're interested in the book club in the Central New York area, that will be June 21st. And they have, I think they're going to have food. We're sponsoring. So if we don't provide the author and the books, we're sponsoring the food. So there will be snacks. Everybody loves snacks. And so it'll be just a fun time. It's a great little center there.
There's a snack expo happening at the Denver airport that I looked to see if we could fit in there, but we're not needing to get our items in the Denver airport. But I was like, ooh, snack and business item info. Yeah, I mean, and Gomez's book, Glenn Gomez Adams, his book is Your Caller Number 7, Please Try Again, which is hilarious stories from his decades in radio. I know I've mentioned it before. It's charming and wonderful. His wife, Kim Adams' book is about empathy and camping and things with the children up in the Adirondacks. So kids can learn a little bit about compassion and...
Yes, and we would like to welcome our newest author, Dr. Sharissa Braxton, and we're just getting started with her and excited for that to be coming out in the coming months. We will also be at Brooklyn Book Festival this year, September 27th, so mark your calendars. And
lastly, I could come up for that.
I know. Then we have our community, the Authorpreneur community. This month's challenge is something to do with nature. So if you'd like more of those details, join us inside the community. Why are you laughing?
When Florida Cat came out to visit me, another one of my besties,
Yes.
There's an old skit on SNL where Will Ferrell plays Robert Goulet, and he just says nature. So when I just see nature, it's ridiculous. I highly recommend anybody going and watching it on the YouTubes. It's super funny. So I just can't not hear it and giggle.
Well, anyway, it'll be a nature challenge or a nature challenge.
Nature.
And, you can join us inside the community for the full details. But
that's awesome.
I think so our friends are here.
Ding dong, let's do it.
So we have Roxanne and Kaitlyn with us, but we're going to start with some questions to Roxanne here. So Roxanne, of course, the first thing we would like to know is for you to tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, my first book, doesn't it feel great to say that? My first book is based on a true story about my grandmother who came from Poland in 1921. So that's my novel that I'm writing, that I wrote. There you go, Jay's. But I learned about this book because this family secret came out. You know those family secrets that stay buried? Well, come to find out, my mother's oldest sister had a different father. And we're all like, wait, what? So meaning her 9 kids grew up thinking my grandfather was their grandfather. So this shows you how long the secret was buried.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And we always knew that my grandmother came from Poland and the steerage of the ship. But what I didn't know is she originally came under an arranged marriage and ends up in the Adirondacks in a paper mill town up near Canton and Potsdam.
Yeah.
And what I learned what happened to her, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to write this story one day. You know how we get those stories in us. And I did. I did.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your publishing experience. You did not publish with us. We'll just
Oh, I know, I
tell
know.
our
But I'm
audience
so
that. But
glad.
we love Roxanne as part of our
We love
herd
Roxanne.
and in our community. Yeah, so we're welcoming you here into our friend circle.
Well, because that's the thing. You've got, when you become an author or you want to be a writer, you've got to hang out with writers and authors, right?
Precisely.
And so that's how I met both of you, at an event where there were writers and authors and artisans, and it was Jessica's Fire Festival. Jess
Right.
Novak.
Yes.
The Fire Festival. One of the first ones I went to.
Yeah.
But anyhow, as for publishing, I knew that when I was publishing this book that I didn't just want to like self-publish it and, on my own, I mean, because a lot of people do that, right? And that's okay. I'm talking about try and learn about Amazon and all that on their own. So I started querying my book. First, I hired a writing coach because I'd never written a novel before.
Smart.
And after I was done with the final product, after much editing and beta readers, all that good stuff, I started querying it. But at the same time, I learned that agents and acquisitions editors hung out on Twitter at the time. So this was like the 2022 kind of time period. So I started going on there and interacting with people. Well, I happened to see a post by an acquisitions editor who said the average novel is 100,000 words. And I go, well, mine's historical fiction and it's a little longer than that. Isn't that acceptable? And he said, send it to me. And I'm just like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, all right.
Right.
So I did, and to make a long story short, he worked for Morgan James Publishing, and I had to apply and all of that and still do all that paperwork, but they accepted my book and I was excited. And Morgan James is like a hybrid publisher, so it's not one of the big fives, but they did a good job on my book and I'm very happy.
Yeah, we had a great time speaking with them too. They were very friendly.
Yeah, David Hancock, he's very down to earth and yeah, very good.
Yes, you want to field some questions?
Well, it's so much fun because hearing you talk about the Milltown and family secrets and things like that, it's interesting because, we've had a handful of family secrets come out. Some good friends of mine have found out about siblings they didn't know they had. And every time I log into 23andMe, I kind of wonder, like, will this be the time? And the joke among my family, because my dad's side of the family, his mother was from Norway. And so they always say there was a Swede hiding in the woodpile. So it's just like, I'm absolutely fascinated by kind of the lineage and where we've come from and what we are and things like that. Was it fun researching all of this and
Oh my
digging
gosh,
into
no.
that?
At the time, in the early 2000s, I started going to college part-time at Syracuse University.
Yeah.
So I went to the microfiche. Yes, the internet was around, but it wasn't like it is now. And I looked up what I learned about my grandmother. And sure enough, there it all was, all over the papers. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
So that's what really, like, you're right. And then doing the research for the book, I mean, I didn't live in Poland at the end of World War I and come to America in the steerage of a ship and all of that. And so, yeah, I think the research is the most fun part. Because that's where you get your ideas. Because I had a basic outline of where I wanted the story, like she's in Poland. She ends up in America. She'll end up in Syracuse, New York, actually. And, okay, but how is it going to end? I don't know. How am I going to fill in the blanks? Well, that's
Yes.
where the research comes in.
Exactly. I know Sandra, y'all should compare notes on it. When she was writing Love Story in the Time of the Great War, she spent like 8 years researching it to build a fictional story around her ancestors she didn't really know. So, I mean, I'd imagine that's got to be a lot of fun.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It really is. And just placing myself in that time period.
Yeah.
In America, 1921, a lot going on. Prohibition. Women are getting the right to vote. I mean, a lot of things happening. Electricity, plumbing. You know what I'm saying? So cars, automobiles.
I mean, and even, and just how the technology's changed for us in the last, 30 years or so. I mean, who even knows what a microfiche is anymore? I was looking at, I'm traveling this week, and they don't even do passport stamps anymore, and I was like, oh, I'm just getting an electronic thing? Come on. You want to get your hands on that stuff a little bit.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fun.
Would you ever do another type of this type of book again, Roxanne?
Well, funny you should ask. After I'd written this book, my mother gives me this shoebox. Like, I'm talking about size 13 shoebox, okay, for shoes. And it's full of letters from Poland that were written to my grandfather. I was like, what? So my friend at the Polish home, she knows how to speak Polish and read it. So she translated these letters for me. So there's one of my next stories for sure.
Ooh.
So I'm excited about that.
It's fascinating. My sister-in-law had a bunch of letters from her family in Germany, and these letters, just reading them, it's such a different snapshot in time, and the emotion and what these people went through is unbelievable.
And these letters are from the 60s and early 70s,
wow.
the time when, Poland was under communism. So totally different time period.
Wow. That's awesome that you have all those. Sorry,
No, you're good. We're going to be having you at our workshop in August, which we're very excited.
Yes,
it's been a long time in getting to this spot where we know where we're having it. So it's going to be August 22nd at CNY Art Center. And Roxanne, tell us what you're going to be helping us
Oh my
with.
goodness. So, when you get a book published, of course you want to get it out there, right? So you start going to author events and community events, and it's just about like how to draw people to your table when you're out there promoting your book. So I'll be sharing some things that I've learned and things I've learned from other authors. And oh my gosh, we're even going to have a contest, aren't we?
Yes.
So
we
that'll
are going
be
to have
fun.
a contest. Well, I feel
marshmallow
like,
eating one?
Yes. I mean, we could orchestrate that, but we're going to do a tabling contest because that's, like you said, it's a huge part of, or you all know, huge part of having a book is going to events and talking about it and sharing it with people and signing, and presenting yourself in that situation is important. And you do a really great job of having your booth and giveaways and reasons for people to come by the table. So we're excited to have that. And just for a tabling event, I think what we plan on doing is having like a bingo card, so people will be encouraged to go buy the tables and and to give like their personal feedback. So it will just help add another level. We're all about helping authors improve. And so if they just come by your table and give you some pointers, or if even just from the public, but also getting the public an incentive to come by all the author tables, because it'll be an arts and crafts event. But if we have the public going specifically looking at the author tables, it will encourage them to go buy those ones for sure. So,
and speaking of giveaways, I just like everyone to know, if they visit catherinesdreamgift.com with a C, Catherine's, they can get a ebook of my novel. So I encourage them to visit that and check out my book.
yeah, which is very nice.
That is awesome. I mean, and it's really interesting too. As we learned at AWP, we got a lot of feedback like on site about our table and things like that. And some people said, "Oh, it's just too chaotic over here," and other people like, "Oh, I love it. It's so eye-catching too." So, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But it'll be interesting if there is some really good constructive feedback that comes from a lot of this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one of my next books is my school bus safety book, because I used to be a school bus driver.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I became a New York State master instructor to help teach school bus drivers. And this book is about, it's about the characters in my book represent the behaviors of a school bus, like a frog doesn't stay in his seat.
Right.
But it's all about teaching kids about how to stay safe on the bus and stay out of the danger zone. Because unfortunately, children can get injured or killed by their school bus. So yes, so that's what it's about.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds
excited
like
about
a fun yet important book. Kaitlyn, we've got you waiting in the wings over here. How about tell us about your book? I know Jess loves it.
Book.
Yes, your book.
She'll probably have another year.
Roxanne said, I've gotten to the point where I can say, would you like to specify which of my books you'd like me to talk about first?
Yes.
Well, you can talk about the one you did with us first, because
Yes,
chronologically,
of course,
what's
of
your
course.
first?
So my book that Wildebeest published is IDK What to Say, a guide for navigating social situations. So I had actually come to Wildebeest. It's actually kind of a funny story. I swore off social media. I deactivated my Facebook account, but then when the time came when I thought I wanted to write a book and I was thinking about it, I thought, I remember following a publishing company, and it said they were in Syracuse. So after like close to a year of no Facebook, I actually went in, reactivated the account just to find, I went through the pages that I was following, and I was like, there it is, and I found Wildebeest, and that was, after, like I said, after about a year of not having it. Anyway, I contacted, Laura and Jess, and I signed up for the Authorpreneur group, and we, did our phone call. And IDK What to Say was not the reason that I called Wildebeest. I wanted to write a novel, and I had some ideas, nothing, really set in stone. And we talked about writing a novel. Great, that's what we're going to do. I signed up. Here we go. And then I was coming to the Authorpreneur Weekly Zoom meetings, and it was a couple weeks in where just some casual conversation at the beginning of groups when everyone's still coming into the group, we were talking about, just like we just talked about, the advances of technology and how us older people, us 40-plus-year-old people, are a little less, internet and technically savvy. And we talked about how the younger generation probably just rolls their eyes at us and thinks but we just need to be taught. We need to, even though it seems like really basic information, the younger generation, it's just what they were born with it, and it kind of comes second nature to them, so they have a hard time understanding why something that comes so easily to them is something that we struggle with. And then that conversation flipped on its head to, we look at the younger kids and say, what's so hard about returning a sweater at Target? What's so hard about realizing that the ATM doesn't work? So what do you do? What do you mean you don't know what to do? You go in the bank and you go to the bank teller. What's a bank teller? So, all this information that the 40-plus crowd has that we take for granted, things that we grew up with, are things that the younger generations it's not second nature to them, and they haven't seen it exemplified, especially with COVID in the middle of their growing years, where, going to the grocery store with the whole family used to be kind of a thing. Everyone picked out, and you would watch mom, tabulate how much they're spending, and you'd go through the coupon book, and you'd check things off the list, and you'd watch mom interact with the cashier. All those things turned into, you go once a week, every other week, depending on your last name, what your last name starts with. And I now, going into the grocery store, I do feel like I don't see families. I don't see a lot of kids with their parent. I see just one adult doing the shopping. And I think, because, COVID, maybe some of us mothers that went for the first time without a child until realized how really nice that was. Oh, we spent a little less because we didn't have a kid, tossing stuff into the cart. So, but anyway, so we talked about that, and then it was sort of this joke. I said, I have young kids, 17, 18-year-old kids that ask questions via text message. And I feel like I could probably make a Word document out of all these text messages with questions and answers, and I could print it and staple it. And, and everyone kind of looked at me funny, like, this is a publishing group, like Wildebeest. They publish books, So, and then after that meeting, I remember just thinking, yeah, a guidebook, And there's all these situations that kids don't know what to, and not just kids. I shouldn't say kids, but we don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. We don't realize that we don't want to say to someone, "Oh, this is so easy. You can do it because it's so easy." It is easy, but once you've seen how it's done, and once you can review before being put into a situation what to expect. And I'm definitely a person where I don't necessarily have social anxiety because, for the most part, I kind of do know what to expect because I've been in a lot of situations. I've watched, my parents, siblings, etc. So, but putting these scenarios down on paper and saying, look, this is what's likely going to happen. And if this doesn't happen, here's one alternative that might happen. But really, these are the only two situations, and to show people that, without being, oh, it's easy, but showing that it is easy, but saying that with compassion and love and saying, I'm telling you that it's easy because I believe in you and I know you can do this, and here's what will happen. So, then, I had just this 20-page Word doc with no formatting and no real depth to it. Sent that off to Jess, and Jess came back with just some great, prompts and things, and she worked, this dog's sneezing, holiness magic. I mean, I really feel that one of my strengths as a writer is with prompts. I may not be able to sit down and have an idea on my own to write something, but ask me a question, tell me what you want me to write about, give me a prompt, and then give me feedback about what I've written, make me dig deeper. So I feel like I just work really well with getting feedback and making adjustments and realizing that, that could be, and so that's what, I think that's really what worked so well and so beautifully with IDK What to Say, working with Jess. I mean, just the ideas that she had to really, I'm trying to remember how you put it, beef it up? Was it beef it? Did we beef it up?
That sounds like me, beef it up.
Yeah, but it was just like every single comment that she had, or like a question was like, and so, to take 20, 30 Word document pages and turn that into a close to, I think it's about 100-page guidebook with graphics and with formatting that really makes a big difference. I'd never ever formatted anything in my life. I'd never had that experience. So certainly it became a functional guide because of Jess and because of Laura, because of Wildebeest and their experience and expertise. So that was just, the collaboration of it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And that's just it. I've said this at least 5 times for completely different situations lately. It takes a village. It really does. Not just with raising children or whatever the terminology is usually used for, but I mean, you have such a voracious appetite for learning, like not many people I've seen before. Dear listeners, when she said she had no idea how to format, within a few months after leaving Wildebeest, she went and self-published her own book, learned how to do the cover design, wrote it, formatted, and you did it all. I mean, with a little help from your kids and things like that. But I mean, it's unbelievable, Kaitlyn.
Yeah. And it's just interesting too, because I mean, when I look back at my career before writing anything, before publishing anything, I was a spring maker. I walked into a factory for the first time in my life, other than Ben and Jerry's. That does not count. That's an ice cream store. But I walked into a manufacturing plant as a temporary employee just to do assembly work, and I looked around like, what are we making here? I love to make stuff. I'm a creator. I'm a musician. I like to write. I like to create. What are we making? I want to make this too. And there's buttons. They had buttons on their machines. And like, I definitely thrive on learning new things, and that is exactly what I did with that career. I went from putting springs into holes to making those springs myself out of raw material with machines and tools. And that experience, combined with Wildebeest, writing the guidebook, those two things together made me realize anything I want to learn, anything I want to put my mind to, and anything that I can devote time to. I understand that's really the biggest thing is time, and I understand that. But I was blessed to have that opportunity to actually devote the time to it. To anyone that wants to self-publish, I will tell you this. It is hard. It is frustrating. You have to be very patient. If you use a certain printing that rhymes with Pringham, you must be patient, because it's not as simple as submit a file and immediately hear back. It could be days before you hear back. You need to be patient. You need to slow down a little bit, I mean, don't just upload files and then, so, but what was so easy to write into my first novel was one of the themes is that nothing worth having is easy. And just because it's hard doesn't mean you can't do it. Yes, it will be hard, but the more hard things you do in your life, the easier those things will become. And there will be a day when you look back and go, gee, I thought that was hard. Now look at what I'm dealing with. But that was hard, and I did it, and I made it through, and I learned a lot, and just on a even more positive note is also, anyone for self-publishing is reach out to other self-published people and to anyone that has any experience. I think that a lot of people assume that people are kind of greedy with their knowledge. They worry about, how can I ask this of them? How can I ask this question? What if they don't know the answer? What if they don't want to help me? Believe me when I say that we've all in this community, in a writing community, everyone has helped somebody at some point. This person helped me figure out this formatting issue. Now this person's asking me a question. I didn't have an issue with that. I know the answer. And it goes round and round. And I learned a ton from, just both my experience with Wildebeest and from other writers and other things. But yeah, I mean, anything worth having, if you want something badly enough, doesn't matter how hard it is, you do it, and you bang your head against the wall as many times as you need to. Not too hard, but get a punching bag. But you just don't give up, and you don't be afraid to ask for help.
It's so funny because this quote keeps coming back in. It's an old Rudyard Kipling quote that I love. It's like, if you don't get what you want, it's either a sign that you truly didn't want it or you tried to bargain over the price, which is kind of what Jess Novak was talking about in Dare to Begin, where she's like, yeah, not anybody can just be a musician. It takes 10,000 hours of practice doing it. So, price not being literal financial costs, but I mean, look at all the hours and time you've put into just writing these books and building this community that you're building too, which is super important. I mean, your tagline, keep shining, your light matters. I mean, it's super important, especially right now.
Yeah. Well, both of you are super inspiring, and Kaitlyn, we're so grateful that you bothered to look us back up on Facebook.
Yeah, but now I'm stuck in the social media world again.
I know, but it speaks to how important it is. You do social
It is.
media and you think it's such a waste of time and I shouldn't,
Yeah.
why should I bother? And these are
Yeah.
clearly two reasons why you absolutely do
Sure,
need to
sure.
do it.
And
And we'll be
I
teaching
I really
this at
only
the
use the
workshop.
social media as that professional platform. I mean, I do still have my private ones, but it's funny, like my private Facebook page, if you go to it, you will notice that 99% of it is just me as Kaitlyn, resharing, reposting, what do you do? Sharing my author stuff to the people that I've known. But I mean, the Instagram is actually a really beautiful place. It really is. Scrolling is not great. Don't spend too much time scrolling. But I am just floored by the people that I've met through Instagram. I mean, to the
Same.
point where one person in particular, there's many, but one in particular has become my dearest friend. We actually share the same birthday. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And when we did the AWP conference in Maryland, she lives an hour and a half from there, and she drove up to Baltimore so that we could meet in person. Yeah, it was funny. She thought I was going to be tall. I don't know why, but I'm 4'10". And I have so
I can see
many
why.
just people. Another, I don't know, I don't think she's indie, but I went to a bookstore in Dryden, New York, and I was like, oh my gosh, that book, I follow that person on Instagram. And we've connected and we've chatted, and I'm going to buy this book. And the woman was like, yeah, she's a local author. So I ended up messaging her on Instagram saying, we've been chatting and connecting for months as just social media Instagram people, not knowing that we live an hour away from each other. And, now she's come to some of my events, I've gone to hers. We're friends. I actually text her. When an Instagram chat moves over to a private phone, that's love. You know what I'm saying? So, there are so many connections. I don't think that it's a waste of time. I do think that we can put too much into it as far as like content and the pleasing how things look and the aesthetic stuff. And I try not to get too hung up on that. If anything, I feel like my caption and my music that I choose for those things are more important than anything, and I'm not out to get views necessarily. I'm just out to find my people. Those people, I don't need 1,000 followers if 990 of them aren't really my people, So, but it's been
Truth.
a lesson for sure, and like I said, it's amazing that real people are on the other side of that, that app.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and especially when you have a book like that one on the shelf behind you, do you want to tell us a little bit about Amber Luna and maybe her sister that's coming soon?
So, yeah, I have it here. I will. It's a little off center, just don't look too hard.
Oh, that's the sequel.
This is the sequel.
Looking beautiful.
Yeah, so Amber Luna, My Bright Light, this was published last June, so pretty excited it
Some
received
stickers on there? What are
yes,
those?
it's a beautiful sticker. The Moonbeam Award, it's a children's book award. It earned the bronze medal in the preteens mature issue. So, and I do always like to point out that Amber Luna does touch on some pretty heavy topics. However, it is done what people have been saying is gentle. When I was writing it, my thought was like poetic. Nothing
Graceful. Very.
Nothing is blatantly graphic, as far as what especially Mari is dealing with. So this was published last June, and I did not intend to write a sequel. This was the novel. I had other ideas for other books, but at the end it really struck me that Amber's friendship with Mari makes a really big difference in Mari's life. Mari is dealing with some childhood trauma, memories of childhood trauma on her own. Amber gives Mari that light, that feeling of, okay, it's not hopeless. I need to work on this, and I know that there's going to be a lot of challenges ahead, but I can do this. And that's, it's basically how the story ends, right? So, but then it occurred to me that Mari really went through some pretty heavy things, and friendship doesn't magically fix that. It is a foundation, and it can give you what you need as far as the strength and the courage to bring it up with an appropriate, whether it's a counselor or a trusted adult, but I really was just beginning to feel like that was the message I put into the world, that, just go find yourself a pal that believes in you, and you'll be healed. And that was not sitting right with me, because that's not how things go. So I said, I really want for the world to understand and know that Mari does heal. But healing is not a checkbox. It's not something that we done. It's an ongoing process. We all hear that healing is a journey and that it's just a constant ebb and flow. And I said, well, I really want for people to see how she's going to heal from that trauma. So, the reality is that Mari really did need help, and she needed to be in a wellness center, like whether, a psychiatric type ward. But I didn't want that to be too heavy, and I didn't want it to overtake the whole story. So it's written very subtly. I mean, yes, she's in a mental health facility for teens. However, the way that it's written, it's definitely more character-driven. The story is more about the people that she meets at her time at North Star Wellness Center for Teens. And she does say that North Star Wellness Center, that's an awfully cliche name, but Guiding Light was already taken. So, I wrote it with sort of this guide of, rather than being the spiritual alchemist, it's more of a mental health journey. Because the alchemist, he meets all these people on this journey, and each of them teach him something. And that is what I wanted to do for Mari, was, everyone that she met at the mental health facility gave her a little, what I was writing on my outlines as the golden nugget. What little golden nugget is each character going to give her that is going to just sort of piece itself together and become this thing at the end that she realizes she's got the answers. She's got all the tools that she needs, and now it's time for her to work through it and to get to that other side. And the other side is not magic healing and being cured. It's knowing that bad things happen to good people, and that you make choices, you choose how you're going to react and deal with the negative, and you move forward, and just always reminding yourself that you made it through all the hard things that you go through. You make it through. You made it through that, you're going to make it through this. So Mari's light burning bright, it's only Mari's perspective, and just it's her journey to find herself in a better place mentally.
Well, I mean, it is interesting, like, talking about friends and Beastie Besties and things like that. And, our friends can be our guiding light or give us those little nuggets that help us on a little bit further down on our path to healing. But really, I mean, as we all know, the power is in us. Mm-hmm. We just have to remember.
Yes. And we are out of time for our friend segment. It was awesome having you guys here. And
we love you both.
Yes, you guys are doing great. Roxanne, we're excited to have you join us in August. And Kaitlyn, we're glad you're going to be having a table there.
Yes, yes. I'm all signed up.
And yes, so I hope others will join us and join in on the contest. And yeah, thank you for coming by our Friends Are Here segments.
Thank you guys. We love you both.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was awesome. They're so inspiring, those two.
I know. Again, could sit and just chit chat all day with them.
I know. I think that was our longest chat so far. But
oh, really? That's awesome.
I mean, it seems like it. All right. Well, I think we want to leave people with some tips. You got anything?
I mean, I guess it's just good to always keep learning, right? And as an editor, well, I think I've mentioned before, I asked for a dictionary for my birthday once when I was a kid. But in working with Avian Swangsong and Dr. Julianne DeSalle and their books lately, I have learned so many new words that I probably haven't retained. And also, in your path of learning, sometimes you learn that maybe you've been really wrong along the way. So I learned that some words that I've been using previously were not very kind. So I've kind of tried to alter my language a little bit with that. But I've also learned some really big words that I didn't know what they meant. So it was really fun to look them up and kind of get a little acquainted with some new. Oh my gosh. Well, I can't remember them now, so I'll have to go back. But then it made me think of some of the other words.
Do your homework.
I know. But it's just fun to learn because you look and it's just so great when you go, I've never actually seen that word before. And, it's close enough to another word where you could have thought they meant this word and not that word. So context is important. But as I was gaming, I noticed, I said, oh, look at that armor. It looks like a jaunty ponytail. And I'm like, oh, I used to love that word. It's just, words are a lot of fun. So for me, it's just always keep looking things up, keep learning.
Yes.
What about you?
Ask me to spell them. Oh my gosh.
Don't double consonants. I can't do double consonants. I will never be able to spell recommend.
Yeah. Tip from my end of things, I would say, since I'm going back through my book that has been written over the last couple of years, getting it ready for editing, I need to read it again, update it. There's some things in there that are pretty outdated just because it's been so long since my first pass, but I created and wrote our 90-day fiction journal while I wrote the first one because it was a real method that I used to every day write part of my book and gauge whether I was on track. And so, we turned that into our little freebie thing that we have.
This guy?
Yes, the 90-day nonfiction writing journal. And I'm dusting that off and using it again for my second pass. So the tip that I have for today is if there's whether it's you writing the book, publishing the book, anything, just grab those 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is you'd like to dedicate every day, and make that the first thing that you do before. And this is not a new tip. I'm doing it myself recently. And so it is, but I think that it's a lot of times it's applied to writing. I think apply it to anything that you've been struggling with or stuck with, whether it's writing the book, publishing the book, making social media posts, building your website, whatever it is, just like dedicate that time every day and do it first thing, because we just keep putting it off, because usually it's tied to something that's just a personal goal, right? Finishing a book,
Precisely.
Building your website, it's kind of personal, and you put yourself last.
100%. And it goes back to the accountability stuff we were talking about earlier, where it's like, you know, even you said to me a few days ago, you were going to dedicate 30 to 60 minutes a day to this. You texted me yesterday and said, I'm going radio silence to do my book. And then you did, and you texted me when you were done. And it's just like, even just like putting it out there, you know, and saying it's so great to get this stuff done. And I mean, I know for me, because I'll be like, I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, oh, but there's shiny things over here. So having an accountability like you, buddy like you, that will like keep me on course is awesome. So I'm really excited about June. I think we're going to have a lot of fun and kind of look at some strategery and just.
Oh, my favorite word.
Sorry.
My favorite non-word.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Well,
Yeah.
we're out of time. So if you have a Beastie Bestie story, if you have a best friend you did something really cool with,
Yeah.
you have Rand and his brother who hiked the Appalachian Trail in a spiritual passage in their 70s, that is a Beastie Bestie story. If you started a business together, Beastie Bestie story. If, I don't know, what other examples do we have? Anything. If you're a husband and wife that have started a nonprofit, whatever it is, like, we want to hear those stories and share them. And the stories include things like what are some of the challenges you faced together, and what are some of the fun things that you've learned along the way.
yeah.
We have a form on the website. You can just go to wildebeest.com and wildebeestpublishingcompany.com. And I don't know what's at wildebeest.com. So whatever's there, don't say I sent you. And that's it. That's our show for today.
Yep. So we'll check you later. But until then, be yourself, run wild, and take leaps.
And don't forget to high five your homies and pen your pages. Bye.
Bye.